Hello and welcome to Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And this is your podcast for everything not top six. Tired of your team being last in match of the day and not getting the flowers they deserve? Well, that's about to change because we're going to shine light on those other 14 teams.
Coming up on this week's and next week's episode, we've each compiled an Other 14 FC team of the season, and we'll be arguing the case for the players we've nominated. In today's episode, we'll be going through our goalkeepers and defenders. Hopefully Alex won't just be naming the starting 11 for Crystal Palace's FA Cup victory. How are you, mate?
I'm all good. It's not that easy doing an intro, is it?
Stumbled a couple of times, but we got there.
You probably feel the pressure of it all, don't you? But
yeah.
I'm all good. I finally think I've recovered from the winning the FA Cup antics, and then I sadly got that cold that seems to be going around all of England at the moment, so I was kind of on my last legs a bit last week, but yeah, I finally feel like myself again and the sun's shining, so yeah, and even had a productive weekend where didn't drink, went to B&Q and garden centres with my missus, so I felt like, if you've seen Old School, I felt like Will Ferrell and that, just like going Home Depot, going to pick up some like nice linen and stuff.
Finally had the normal weekend that your body has been cool and screaming out for however long.
Mate, literally, I was there like sad. I was like, "There's no football. What am I going to do?" And I was like, "I'll actually do some pleasant things." But no, what about yourself? How's your weekend?
Yeah, it was not too bad. We did a end of tenancy clean yesterday at the old flat, and unfortunately, the zip car that we had booked after we'd finished the clean broke down 10 minutes away from where we previously lived, and quite far away from where we now live. So, we spent 3 hours in the car waiting for a tow van to come and get it because we were parked on double yellow lines. They wouldn't just let us leave it. So, yeah, that was a fun Sunday afternoon. Got home like 8 o'clock. Like,
what is the protocol of a zip car breaking down? Aren't they all electric and everything as well? Or?
There was something to do with the oil, and it was just like, yeah, don't drive the car any further. And it was like, but we're like parked in some little corner on some double yellows and just had to sit and wait for the tow van to come.
Mate, that is dead times. That's a good.
Yeah, it was not how you want to spend Sunday.
That's a good final afternoon for you in Ford Heath as well.
It was fitting. It was like, I never want to see South London again right now.
Mate, the car didn't want you to leave. It's got the country down there. You know that.
Nah, I'm so happy to go.
Oh, I love it. Cool. Okay, with that, should we take a little break then, get into the team of the season?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Okay, we're back to it. So we're going to go through basically our team of the season for all other 14 FC players. This week we're going to start with goalkeepers and defenders. So, I guess let's just get straight into it. How do you want to do this, Tom? I have a bit of a short list of players, and I'm also kind of just going to choose mine as I go because I'm still a bit unsure. So do you want to run through like a short list of players first, or do you want to pick your pick and then we can have a discussion about them?
Well, I've gone position by position, so what we'll do is I'll say my pick for the position, and then you can jump in with your short list, and if you've got any sort of competing answers, I think that's the best way to go through this exercise.
One thing we need to do before anything, are we picking a certain formation?
Well, I was going to say this, I've gone 4-3-3 just because of how the balance of players, and I've not forced players in, so we've not got a right winger playing on the left wing. We've not got like 3 attacking midfielders in midfield. Like, I've tried to make it a team as well.
Okay, I actually went 4-4-3 as well. I'm 4-3-3 as well, so that's good. But I'm not going to lie, I have Gareth Crooks it a bit. In all certain places.
That's what I didn't want. I didn't want like Mateta on the left wing, like Strand Larson. I didn't want.
No, I got Mateta at centre back, mate.
So it's 11 strikers then, yeah.
Yeah, hang on. Cool. Okay, let's do it then. I think we're pretty good. Let's go keeper. I have a feeling we may be joint in this one, but yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I think the obvious choice here is Matt Sells from Nottingham Forest. He obviously was the joint clean sheet holder with David Raya of Arsenal, which for a Nottingham Forest side and for a keeper of Matt Sells' like name and stature is such an accomplishment. Like, I don't think anyone would have been predicting he'd have been close to like top clean sheet holder of the season.
No, I honestly he was a brick wall in that team the whole year, and he was definitely my pick in all honesty as well. From seeing him live, just completely like shutting us out over games, and it was just
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
some of the saves he made was like quite outrageous. It would be like, how has he pulled that off? Like he's a big guy, but like it was like proper cat-like reflexes at times. Definitely won Forest a lot of points, whether it was draws or keeping them in the lead in those games. And he fought off competition a new signing last summer called Carlos Miguel, who was another really tall player they signed from Brazil, a Brazilian side, and there was definitely some conjecture about whether Miguel would come in and start because Matt Sells had been good, maybe not great at his time in Forest, but prior to this season. But he absolutely proved it this season, and he faced the third most shots on target this season, which is like shot. Talking about goalkeeper stats can be quite a hard thing to call because it's always like, oh, someone X had the most saves, and it's like, well, yeah, they were in a relegated team.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
their defense was terrible, so of course they faced 20 shots at a match, so they'd have the most saves. But for him to have got the joint clean sheet holder and faced the third most shots on target, I think is just, yeah, Matt Sells is my pick for goalkeeper.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? That stat you literally said there is like most shots saved. I think United fans use that for Nana, don't they? To be like, yeah, he's a good keeper. He's a good keeper. He makes saves. It's like,
It's always the worst stat to bring up for a goalkeeper because it's just like it's fine for the goalkeeper, but it's like, all right, your defense is awful.
what do you think was the difference for him this year? Like, it's hard to pinpoint, is it? Because, like you said, no one was really expecting it, and it was just. Do you think it was just confidence that snowballed throughout the season? I mean, obviously, we don't know if he's training more or anything like that, but it just all clicked this year.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like whilst I say like he faced a lot of shots on target, Forest defense was obviously better than it had been in previous seasons, and especially in that early portion where they were like the tactics and everything were really clicking, and I think maybe teams hadn't really found them out as much, sort of like the first half of the season really when they were right up there chasing in the title race essentially, and they're like Nuno had got them clicking. They were all sort of like Olaina at right back was working really well. Like Murillo and Milenkovic were really solid. And I think maybe towards the end of the season that like slightly tailed off a little bit. But over the course of the season, I think Sells was like head and shoulders out of the other 14 keepers the best. And I think sometimes you just get this, especially with goalkeepers, like a late career renaissance. Sort of like sometimes it just clicks with them. They've obviously, I think he's 33, so like he's been around the block for a bit. He spent time in France, spent time in
Not
Belgium.
old for a keeper though, 33. Like,
No, yeah, yeah, for sure. He's still got legs in the tank, and like if he can keep up this level for another few seasons, then like all credit to him. Like it was a unreal season from Cells.
it really was. You just, yeah. I hope Forest stand by him next year. I'd be mad not to, wouldn't they? Like, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue is there going to be some regression? Like, was this just a one season wonder from him? Like, where things clicked and he was able to pull out some of these saves. Maybe he doesn't pull off some of them next season, and the it looks a little bit less shiny. But this season, there's absolutely no discrediting what he's done. So my pick, yeah. So Sells is going in for me, but what about the shortlist? Because I had one who I'm sure you'll be bringing up
I, I,
as another name on the list. But
I'm. I think I know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Dean Henderson?
of course, yeah,
Yeah, okay. Dane Henderson's on my shortlist, but he's very far down it. Like,
really,
yeah, I can be honest. Like, he had a great season, but it wasn't outstanding compared to some other keepers. I think like FA Cup stuff is obviously like recent in the memory, and that's going to make a lot of people think he was unbelievable. But it's actually in a Forest game. Like, if you look earlier in the season, he's had a couple of clangers. He had a very soft hand to a Chris Wood goal that gave them the goal up to beat us 1-0. And Dino is now my saviour, don't get me wrong, but I think there's keepers
I
out
mean,
there.
he's been on fire in recent weeks, so it's
Yeah,
one of those. And this exercise is important to make sure that recency bias doesn't play into it. Because there's like been players where I'm like, oh, their recent form has been amazing, but actually, were they doing this in December, November sort of time, like, or has it been consistent? Or like players are going to go through a bit of peaks and troughs, but I think with a team of the season exercise, you kind of need to be like, how consistent have they been over 38 games? And yeah, it's a good point about Dean Henderson. Like he's pulled off some great saves recently. I think he ended the season in really good form, but you obviously watch a lot closer. And Palace struggled in those early few weeks and
Yeah,
months of
we
the season.
didn't get
So
a win till our ninth game, so that's
mm,
that's where you look at it. So other people that are shortlisted forward were someone I thought had an outstanding season was Kepa at Bournemouth. I feel like he actually rebuilt his name a bit after, let's be honest, the disaster of the time he had at Chelsea.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's been a massive part of it. I think with Iraola wanting to play with ball playing goalkeeper as well. Like Kepa's really come in and done that, and I think he's almost found like a perfect level for him. Like it's similar to like his athletic club days, like before he made the move to Chelsea, where he was like sort of like a slightly smaller team, but a team that are loved by the fans, play football in the right sort of like the right sort of way where like he's involved in all the play as well, but the stage isn't too necessarily too big for him. He's one of the more known players at Bournemouth, but he can come in with his experience of being at Chelsea, being at Real Madrid, being at Athletic Club, and really help and be an integral part to the team. So he was definitely a consideration, but maybe I don't think has necessarily like wowed as much
No,
at times.
I don't think he gets close to Sells in all honesty, but I feel like just for what he did for one, felt like he needed a mention. I had two more on my shortlist. Jordan Pickford has to be up there. I know you don't like Jordan
I
Pickford.
knew you were going to say him because he kept coming up when I was looking into the stats earlier. He kept coming up as like there or thereabouts with cells on a lot of them, and I was like,
He had the second most clean sheets. Like you can't deny that really, and he is like a beating part of that Everton spine. And
yeah. I mean, my problem with Jordan Pickford is less about it actually how good he is, and more just about like he just grates on me.
yeah, no,
So like if he was a slightly close, if like I did consider putting him in, like he was in consideration despite all of that,
yeah,
but like
you just thought
he's
T-Rex
had a very good
arms.
season. Yeah, I just saw his T Rex arms, and I just saw him shouting at the defense for him having to make a save in a game, like which he does every week. Like why are you making me do my job? Like,
I get that. I think that's enough of Pickford. My last one was Flecken. I think for Brentford, he had a really solid season, and now he's being linked with a move away as well. So
yeah,
it shows.
that's an interesting one because he's seemingly going to Bayer Leverkusen for 10 mil, and then they're bringing in Cayman Kelleher from Liverpool for 12.5, rising to 18 mil. So
Weird.
Flecken, I think, is a good goalkeeper, but I think it's interesting. I think you seem to rate him a little bit more highly than I do.
It may just be one of those where, do you know when a keeper has a great game against your team, and it's
Yeah.
like, shit, this guy's good, and then he plays other teams and lets a howler in, but every time it's been like a brick wall against us. Like, I
Yeah, you're
think
just
that's what
scarred
happened.
from personal
I
experience, but
genuinely
like
think that.
He's had a good season. Like Flecken is a good goalkeeper, but I don't think he doesn't wow me on like a consistent basis.
No, I've definitely got that in my head. But yeah, he was definitely lower down. But I think big ones for me, Matt Sells, Pickford, and Hendo. But yeah, I think that's the first one that can go into our team. Is in goal we have Matt Sells, and he had an absolute like stormer there. So yeah, should we move on to defence now? Where do you
Yeah,
want to start? What position?
let's go from right to left. So we're probably going to agree about this one as well.
There's only
We've
one
gone
person for right back. Like,
there. I mean, I was so tempted to put someone else in, and I actually had someone else's name written down until maybe 2 weeks ago, and then I buckled. So I buckled and changed it to Daniel Munoz from
yeah,
Crystal Palace.
it has to be. I do not know what is in that man's system, but how he can run as much as he did the whole season, not get injured. I think he played almost every minute for us in both like league and cup. And yeah, without him in that team, we don't function. We need him like just battering players constantly, like being a nuisance. It's the weirdest thing I'd never seen before at Palace. Or just definitely never seen before at Palace is like the ball will be with the opposition's keeper and he'll be hurrying the keeper, and I'm like, who the fuck is at right back? Like, what is going on? I'm
Yeah,
not used to this type of football from a Crystal Palace team. But then you see him get back into that position in like less than 20 seconds, and he's ready to go again, chasing every lost cause. Like, the only thing missing for him this season is if that goal in the FA Cup had counted for him, and it would have rounded off like the perfect season for him. But I mean, he won Player
yeah.
of the Season for us. He won Players Player of the Season as well, and he's a revelation. If he got injured, I'd worry for our team next year because I think the whole team breaks down without him. That's how important he is.
Yeah, I mean, for the Glasner system, like one of the fullbacks being such like a bombing fullback is so important. Like during his Frankfurt days, he had Philip Kostic, who was like always like up and down the left side, like constantly, and chipped in with loads of attacking contribution as well. And this is absolutely same for Daniel Munoz on the right side. Like as you say, like he's an absolute dog in defence as well. Like, but he just up and down the right flank all day long. Like, feels like one of those players that you could just like set like you just twist up the back of the like twist up like an old toy, and then he just goes for 90 minutes like up and down. And yeah, in attack, like 4 goals and five assists in the Premier League this season, which is a proper impressive contribution from a right wing back.
For a Palace player as well, a Palace defender getting no stats. I mean, Tyreek Mitchell got 5 assists as well, but those goals just it puts him in a different level altogether. And I think he's idolized me forever now because I don't know if you saw one of the interviews he did for Columbia, but he went Columbia S Croydon, and I think I want to get that tattooed on me now. Like, it's just the best thing.
Oh god, please do not get Columbia X Croydon tattooed on you, because I'm sure Homeland Security will be knocking on your door specifically.
Oh, hopefully. Really.
But just to give him a stat as well, like to show off his defensive side, he had the second most tackles in the league, which is so impressive when you see like the amount of players in the division, the amount of like top quality talent, and Daniel Munoz is showing his defensive chops as well as what he can do in attack. But the player I wanted to put down so much was Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
So he's the one that I've jimmied into my team in a Graf Crooks way. So, 'cause
Yeah, how have you done that then?
not well. I've got him at centre back, I think.
No, you haven't.
So I don't think I'll be getting away with it, but I don't. It feels like we're just blowing smoke off each other's asses actually here, but like,
I promise that like it stops being West Ham and Palace like pretty soon after. And like the reason I wanted to put Wan-Bissaka in there is because I just know that there's no other West Ham player that I thought about maybe Bowen, but like even then I'm trying to like shoehorn two good players this season, like, and it just didn't really feel right, especially with Palace winning the FA Cup. I was like, I kind of have to put Munoz in over Wan-Bissaka, but statistically Wan-Bissaka was right up there, like loads of interceptions, like carried the ball on the right hand side like just as well as Munoz did at times, and yeah, absolutely great signing for West Ham.
yeah, that's exactly it. I feel like we spoke many times about Aaron this season. I was like, where did he learn to do that? How is he doing that? Like, that wasn't something he could ever do at Palace, and it's just like he is proven or just expanded his game beyond belief, which is mad that this wasn't seen at United, or it just wasn't. Maybe he got coached at United, but the player and system or the manager in charge just never really exploited him in that way. And now, yeah, you're getting the best out of him at West Ham. So you can obviously see him getting better and better because he's still not old, is he?
He's only like 26, so yeah, we've got him for like the peak of his career. I still can't believe you tried to put him at centre back.
What do you expect to be? But no, okay. Let's move into centre backs then. Who do you have as your first centre back choice?
So first centre back choice, similar to all the stuff I've said about Matt Sells for Forest, I've gone with Murillo.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as me as well. I feel like it was hard to not put Murillo in all honesty. Like, I know he had maybe. All I can remember is one bad moment where he went up for that corner and like got dispossessed, but apart from that, the whole
Yeah, that's
season
just like
was.
recency as well. It's sticking in your mind because it wasn't too long ago. But like, if I think back to slightly earlier in the season, Murillo was outperforming almost every centre back in the league. Like, and he was the beating heart of Forest's like run up in the run in the table. Like how well they were performing. Like it was coming down to Murillo making goal line clearances or keeping like interceptions of blocks, and he's just been really really solid all season, and then maybe had a slight dip off towards the end, but I know there were a couple of like niggling injuries as well towards the end of the season, so probably didn't help. Like he statistically he had the most clearances with 249 in the league, and he had the second most blocks with 69. Like the statistics back up how good Murillo was this season, and he contributed going well forwards. Like he had a couple of really nice shots and got a couple of important goals. And yeah, he also combined really well with Milenkovic. Like I think I've seen some pundits have put Milenkovic in their team in the season, but for me, I go Murillo out of the two.
Yeah, I'm in an R in between putting Murillo and I can't say his name properly, Milenkovic in as
Milenkovic,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm in an R about putting them both in. I was just like, it's just going to be Forest players at this point, which makes sense because Forest, in all honesty, probably had the best season out of the other 14. I know Villa finished high, Newcastle finished high, but from expectation, Forest fans should really be the ones happiest. Would you say with?
yeah. There's always a temptation to be like to feel like, oh, I've put in too many of the same team, but really, a team of the season is very likely to be down to like four or five teams because those are the teams who perform the best, and then the others had maybe some good like moments throughout the season. Like we'll get onto it next week when we do the midfielders, but there's a couple of Villa players in there and then there's a couple of Newcastle ones in there because of how well they were in midfield and attack. But just going back to Murillo, I think he's just really like he performed really well last season, and then I think he built on it this season as well. And for such a young player, I believe he's only 22, so
Is he only
like
22? Wow.
yeah, he looks a lot older than 22, I would
Yeah,
say, but.
like he looks old, he acts old, and feels like I thought he'd be like 26 or something. Like that's unbelievable. Yeah, I guess that's why Forest fans are so scared that they were going to lose him. In all honesty, like I mean, they still are a bit wide, but I feel like you stay there, get confidence, and then just go from strength to strength with Forest. Really, it's just he's got
Yeah,
that their spine in that squad, which if they can hold that together, it could take him quite good place.
yeah. I mean, you'd love to see him stick around at least for one more season and see what run they can make in the Conference League because he's only 22. I don't think there's any rush to move on with your career at that point. Like as a fan of one of the other 14 teams, I'd be desperate to see him stick around, similar to how Rice did with us. Probably stayed a season longer than he could have or probably should have, and then but won us a trophy and will like go down in my memory sort of thing. So I'd love to see the same for Murillo, but Forest tap up the Brazilian market quite well in recent seasons, and they've been linked today with three players from Botafogo, I believe. So like they're 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 probably looking at the next Murillo already with an eye on how much they'll get him for him, whether it's this summer or next. But yeah, he had an excellent season. With regards to like the centre backs, like I generally this is like the football manager in me coming out, but I like to have like one a bit more no nonsense and then one a bit more ball playing to sort of like I feel like it's a really good compliment and it's what I like to see across the league. So I want to raise a little bit more no nonsense defender who I was close to replacing Murillo with, and that's Nathan Collins of Brentford.
Yeah, I didn't actually have Nathan Collins on my short list. I had a few other
See,
Brentford players, and I mean, we'll come on in later, but yeah, I didn't have Nathan Collins.
yeah, see, he kept coming up in the stats as well, and then and he played every minute. He was the only outfield player, I believe, in the whole league to play every minute of action in the Premier League this season. So like that in itself is a massive achievement. And then he kept coming up like in per 90 stats. He was like really well performing and stuff. So, and I think he's also very young. Like he feels like he's been around for quite a few years, but he like is a proper solid performer for Brentford. Like I think he's been head and shoulders their best defender this season. And yeah, just wanted to give him a shout out because of the style, and he's not my number two centre back on the list.
Okay, nice. I had a couple of I wanted to call out as well before we go on to your pick because obviously mine's
But do
about
you
to
want to
stand.
do? Okay, do you want to do the other centre back that I've picked, or do you want to do the short lists?
Let's do the short list because I think I've just
Okay,
seen your notes quickly and I haven't got him on the
okay.
short list. Even though I was umming and ahhing about him, I wasn't umming and ahhing about him. I was like, he probably has to go in, but I didn't put him in because I was like, he's going to be there somewhere. So I had, as previously mentioned, John Philip Mateta as centre back.
You had him and Wan-Bissaka with the best centre back partnership.
No, I think I went more for a not nostalgic, but just like the season the geezer had, and like just like not recency bias. What am I looking for? The not nostalgia, but just like he had a poetic season. Awful way to describe it. I put Dan Burn in there just for what he did for Newcastle over
Dan
the
Burn.
season. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
He probably didn't have the most standout season ever, but I just think, yeah, what he did and like the why can't I think of the word I'm looking for? What he did
I
for
mean, he's a
Newcastle.
boy. He's a boyhood Newcastle fan, and he played a massive part, especially with how many injuries they had across the back line. Like, I'm pretty sure he filled in at left back at times. Like, he's like was obviously their best centre back, I think, throughout the season. Like, Dan Burns is a good shout for sure, and like when you take into account their run in the League Cup and the victory in that as well, like and how well they performed, especially in the run in, and how key he was. It's definitely a good shout.
Yeah, I just think it was the romance of it all. That's the word I was looking for. The romance
The
of it all.
romance
Finally
got
got
there in
there.
the end, mate.
Yeah, and then one other one just wanted to call out. I don't think he had the best season. Is definitely probably more down to recency bias, but Jared Braithwaite for Everton, I think came into his own. Like, well, I think everyone knew he's a good defender, but I think he really came into his own towards the end. Really, I think he had little injuries throughout all the periods, but he's definitely one that Everton will be looking to hold on to. And yeah, I think had a good start, good season all round. But should we move on to
Yeah.
your pick? Because I think listeners probably know who you're going to be going for.
Yeah, probably. It's Dean Huijsen, Bournemouth centre back. Just 19 years old, man. I knew he was young, but when I saw that's like his age earlier, I was like, damn, he was doing this all season at 19 years old. Like, just unreal. Like, he's such an interesting sort of like centre back because he's very skinny, it
Yeah,
feels like. He doesn't, like, he's not gonna shrug players off with strength.
but
Like,
he still commands it though. Like I went to Old Trafford to watch Bournemouth United, and I believe he gets the goal in that, and one of the goals of the three in that game. And I remember seeing him like you say, skinny, a bit like Weedley almost, but he just commanded everything. Like players couldn't really like get near him, and he just like he had everything in his pocket. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, he's a proper classy player. Like he's like skinny, tall, like lanky kid, but like and has like got the longest legs. But he looks so smooth on the ball. Like the way like he's my ball playing defender to complement Murillo sort of thing. Like I think a stat that really sort of like proves that is he had the 10th highest progressive carry distance, which feels like a proper like in-depth stat, but it's literally just about like how far he was carrying the ball up the pitch. So like the amount of distance that he covered in a season with the ball, and that really like what he did and what Bournemouth sort of preached as well was like their like both of their centre backs, like whether it was Zabani or I've forgotten the name of the other centre back they have, Huijsen and Zabani were very much like get the ball and carry it up the pitch and then pass it on to one of the midfielders or the attackers. So to like give a little bit of a tactical difference to the opposition team because they had to deal with the centre back coming into midfield or attack. And yeah, that was just really impressive from him all season. The way he was able to take the ball from pressure and get out of it using his carrying ability. And obviously, we have to touch on that he's seemingly going to Real Madrid. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed at this point, but it seems 99% confirmed.
Yeah, what do you
If
make of
not,
that? Do you think that's the right move for a 19-year-old?
I think Real Madrid are crying out for a centre back, so I think it could go well. And with Xabi Alonso signing as manager and his sort of work with more of a three at the back, then I think it could be fine. And Huijsen comes from absolute pedigree, like he's played for Roma and Juve in Italy, so I don't doubt that he feels like he's talented enough or can make the step up to Real Madrid. And he's proven this season that he took to the Premier League like a duck to water. So I back him to make that step up, whether it's immediately or if he takes 6 months to a year, maybe just as a bit part squad player sort of thing while he learns under Alonso and like gets used to being a Galactico. But I think I'll back him to come good at Real, and I hope Bournemouth fans have good memories of him. It's an interesting one when you have a player for just a season, and you kind of hope like sometimes it's just like, oh, they just used us as a stepping stone, but other times it's like, oh, what a great season that was and how good he was, and like we got to watch him for a season.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any bad blood from anything I've seen from like Bournemouth social medias and whatnot. It seems like they're all like happy, well, not happy for him to go, but they're all giving him best wishes and hoping he does the best. I mean, we talked about it last week, the money Bournemouth are getting for him as well. It's not like they're not getting a lot for him there. For a 19-year-old, they can, what, could be 50, 60 million? So
Yeah, I mean they've like over doubled their money, I believe, so in one season. So it's great reinvestment money for Bournemouth anyway. Like the model that they want to be, where they're getting young players and selling them off at profits. Like this is the best example of that. Maybe possibly Dominic Solanke was before, but he stuck around for quite a few seasons, so felt a little bit less like that. But yeah, so Dean Huijsen is my other centre back.
yeah, okay. So we got a right back with Daniel Munoz locked in. We have centre backs of Huijsen and Murillo.
Murillo, yeah.
And then who do you have for left back? I'll let you go first with this.
Yeah, I think this one there might be some discussion about for sure, because I have gone for Anthony Robinson of Fulham.
Okay, I weren't expecting that from you. I probably went for the geezer that you spent all season talking about how good he was, and now you've left him out at the last moment. I went for Kirkes for Bournemouth.
Kirkes, oh, I thought you were going to say Eight Nourias because he was my other one. It was a real tough choice between all three of them for me.
I was thinking Aidenary, but then I was like, that definitely for me would have been off recency bias because of how he performed against us at Sellers Park and had 4-2. Because probably because I wasn't watching him as much, because I did have that same thing you have for Pickford against him, where I was a bit like, he's never played well against us. He was a bit of a diver against us a couple of times, so I did want to put him in for me for recency bias. But yeah, what made you go for Anthony Robinson over Kirkes in the end?
So I think it was a couple of things. One, he had the fourth most assists in the league of all players with 10.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he got 10 assists. I think he like raced ahead with like 10. Like he had a really good first sort of like 7 months of the season or so, and then some injuries and that sort of kind of like tailed his season off from about February, March sort of time. So maybe it's like it's one of those that's like it's a complete opposite of recency bias, because his recent form wasn't really there. Like they were putting Sessegnon in it and stuff because Robinson wasn't fully fit. But for him to get 10 assists in the season from left back, and I feel like I really just needed to have a Fulham representative in the team as well, because I just really wanted to give them credit for their season. Like we were talking about last week, like they had a proper good season. It might not have been great, but I think that Robinson was a standout performer, and especially in those early months of the season, like he was, for me, head and shoulders the best left back in the league, and it's like really sort of like challenging myself to say like, oh, is it going with Aït-Nouri and Kirkes more recency bias because Robinson hasn't been able to play in recent months as consistently, or should I go back to my original, like, because Robinson was the first name that I put down, and then I looked around and was like, oh, Aït-Nouri and Kirkes are probably challenging him for that spot. But not just the assist, but Robinson was also top 10 in interceptions and tackles. So it's like he's not just been doing it at the other end of the pitch. Unlike Munoz, he has actually been playing left back as well, like in a back four rather than left wing back in a back five. So it's a bit tougher for him. Like he's got more defensive responsibility than say Munoz necessarily does, because there's one less centre back to cover him, for example. But so that's why I've gone for Anthony Robinson.
Saying one of those centre backs is Joachim Andersen, whose legs are seemingly gone now as well. So, yeah, I had the same thing as you. I was trying to, maybe not Jimmy, but I was looking at Fulham's team and I was like, it feels like I should have a Fulham representative in here because they did have a great season. But every single one I looked at, apart from maybe Robson was probably the closest, every single one I looked at, I was like, yeah, but he kind of didn't do well enough to get into a team of the season for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I was toying with putting Alex Iwobi in somewhere in the midfield and attack, because I think he had a good season as well. I think he had, in my opinion, his best season of his career. But there were just too many other options that I was like, I can't put him in over him. I compared some of them, and obviously we'll get on to the midfielders and attack next week. But yeah. I felt like I needed to have a Fulham player, and Robinson was the clear and obvious choice for me. And then it started to, like, when I compared them to Aït-Nouri and Kerkez, it started to feel more right. I mean, from on Kerkez's side of things, like, he had his best season of his career so far. Like, he looked like a little bomb, like running down on that left wing. Like, he's built like a bulldog sort of thing. Like, he's a really, really good player, but wasn't necessarily the output that could challenge Robinson for me.
You say that, but I'm looking at Aït-Nouri's stats now, and I think if we went just off stats, Aït-Nouri with 4 goals for Wolves, and then assists, let's see, was it 5 or 6? And then he had, 1 second, and he had 7 assists. Like, if we're going off the stats, Aït-Nouri might be more of my pick looking at it. Maybe...
Yeah.
You gonna let me challenge you? I don't think you are you?
No. You can challenge me if you think Aït-Nouri, because I mean I've been saying for months now that Aït-Nouri's had a really good season and everyone's starting to take notice. Like for a Wolves team,
Still believe it.
for a Wolves team that were like,
I still.
Yeah, I know. Just wanted to argue. Yeah, Do we go Aït-Nouri then?
Nah, I don't think I can. I honestly, mate, I was not having in my team until I looked at those stats, and those stats kind of brought me in. But I can't say I've looked at them enough over the whole season, being like, yeah, you're the man to take team of the season from me. I may be more swayed with Kerkez, but yeah, I think I've got to give you Anthony Robinson in this one, haven't I? Do you know what? I'll give you these. But I'm expecting some leeway when it comes to midfield and forwards, because I feel like we're going to have a lot more disagreements and a lot more people to talk about in those positions.
Yeah, because you've that was the only one you slightly disagreed with. It was just going. I told you that you wouldn't have many arguments with my back five.
It's harder with defenders though, isn't it? Because I was scouring, like, that's probably why Dan Burn ended up being near the top for me, because I was like trying to scour through and I was like, Who defender-wise really spoke out for me? But it is just those obvious ones for the other 14, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you talk about like consistency over the course of a season. I think it's really tough for defenders, especially in our other 14 teams, to necessarily stand out, because obviously quite often we're playing sort of like underdog, or there are struggles. Like, if you think other 14 teams, majority of them are in the bottom half of the table most times. So usually there's a lot of struggles that come with that. And being a defender and a goalkeeper is like struggle FC at times. Like, it's just like you just come under so much pressure that like maybe statistics can be quite hard to pull out. And I think that's where I've at least tried to go to like different avenues and like see, like, look across a range of like, all right, what does this player do well? Like, using my eye test as first, and then being like, right, can I back this up with stats, or am I just talking out my ass? Like, there were a couple of attackers that I was like, I wanted to put this player in, or like I was considering them, but then when I looked at the stats, I was like, actually, I don't really have the what's the words, the catalogue to back it up, or like the career to like the actual like stats on the paper. Despite having a good eye test, it was like, all right, this player does have the stats to back it up, whereas this player doesn't have the stats to back up my eye test. So like I sort of edge with the stats on that side of like to make a tiebreaker sort of situation. So yeah, it's hard for defenders to make it into our team of the season, but I'd be absolutely buzzing if my team had a back five of these lot.
100%. Like you said, you'll take down to like stats and typewriters. I'll happily always just talk out my arse. Absolutely love it. But no, okay, so let's reflect on our team because we'll round off the pod there because I think we're going to keep this one a bit short and then have probably the attackers one is going to be a bit longer. But yeah, so do you want to start with our goalkeeper?
Yep, sure. So we've got Matt Sells in goal, and then our defenders are Daniel Munoz of Crystal Palace at right back, Murillo of Nottingham Forest, and Dean Huijsen of Bournemouth at centre back, and then Anthony Robinson of Fulham at left back.
Nice. Like you said, that was a formidable back five there. I don't see them conceding many goals, but cool. Okay, yeah, let's keep it there.
Come back next week for a lot more arguments around the midfielders and forwards.
Yeah, I feel like that one will be baying for blood from each other. I promise you that one. But yeah, other than that, if you agree or disagree with us, feel free to get in contact with us on our socials at other14fc podcast. And then if you're really angry, feel like you can email in at other14podcast@gmail.com. But otherwise, yeah, I'll see you next week, Tom, to go through the attackers and midfielders.
See you next week, mate.
Bye.